Good evening. As the Textile Talks are getting more and more popular, we have more than 70 people today. We have more than 103 registrations and we have to close registrations. Maybe it's just because of Paula. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Before we start, can we just request all cell phones to be on silent? Just make one small announcement also that Viva Studio has initiated a program for January to March in the coming year, which is called Sarong to Sari. It's a tribute to Rabindranath Tagore, to Gurudev, on his 100th year. That is, he had gone on a journey to Central Java, to the courts of Java, and from there the inspiration of batik and how it comes to Shantiniketan. So do join us in spreading the word and save the date. And register yourselves. There's a registration details that are here, and we'll keep you updated on the programming, on the symposium, visit engagement programs, the workshops, and the second part of the exhibition, which is going to happen simultaneously, is going to be in Shantiniketan at Arthshila. So first exhibition starts on the 21st of January at KCC, ending on 31st of March. The same exhibition, but a smaller version, starts at Arthshila on the 24th of January and goes on till the 4th of April 2027. So there will be trips going up and down to Shantiniketan. There will be events that are going to happen at KCC, from the inaugural day symposium to the workshops and visitor engagement programs. There's equal involvement of the Indonesian experts, the janting and other tools with which they will be showing their part of the batik. And of course, from our side, from Shantiniketan and Kolkata, from Alpana to the brush batik to many other batik processes, as well as many other different dyes that are used, including natural dyes. So any more information that you need, you can register and write to us, and we're very happy to share the same with you. Moving on, welcome to another program of our Textile Talks series. We're delighted to have you all with us today's presentation by Paula Sengupta, titled A River of Unrest, a Delta of Dreams. This presentation explores a sweeping tale hinged between fact and fiction of the last king of India traversing geographies and sailing rivers from the Gomti to the Hooghly to the Mara in a bid to alter his fragile destiny. Depicted on silk and batik and shibori, with stories mapped in embroideries and applique, the work offers a compelling intersection of narrative, history, landscape, and textile practice. Dr. Paula Sengupta is an artist pedagogue, curator, and art writer. She's a professor and currently head of the Department of Graphic Printmaking and former dean of the Faculty of Visual Arts, Rabindra Bharati University, Kolkata. Trained as a printmaker, Paula's repertoire includes broadsheets, artist books, objects, installations, moving image, and community art projects. Her work addresses gender binaries, enforced migration, loss of home, heritage, and landscape, and a concern for conservation of societies, communities, and ecologies. Her language is distinctly feminine, therefore laying claim to methods and materials that underline feminist thought. We are honored to have her with us today and look forward to hearing about this remarkable project that she has undertaken. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Paula Sengupta. Very warm welcome. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you for turning out in such large numbers. On a day, I understand we're in a 3-day carnival. That's it. Okay. Yes, so we're in a 3-day carnival with blocked roads, but I'm happy to see everybody here. So, thank you to the Viva Studio, to Darshan for having me here this evening. This is a presentation that I've long wanted to put together and make. But the fact that I could have it in a research center for textile and have an audience that is more steeped in textile than other art forms actually galvanized me into finally putting this presentation together. Because I've been wanting to piece these textile works, string them together for a bit. So in a sense, this has been a good exercise for me in piecing this body of work together. So before I start, I would just like to say that what I'm wearing today was the inspiration really for making these works. I was fortunate enough to spend some time in Yogyakarta some years ago, and I was deeply inspired by the batik practices on the island of Java and Yogyakarta in particular. And I was just saying to Darshan that I visited the Danarhadi Museum in Solo, and to tell you the truth, I went into a slump. After seeing that museum, I felt that I had done nothing with my life. The range, the expanse of the different kinds of batik was so overwhelming. I had no idea of the vastness of this, and it is serendipitous that you are just contemplating this large batik project. It's serendipitous that I'm making this presentation today of works that I made in batik. Yes, so it is an extremely evolved textile art. And I tried my hand at it in collaboration with artists, friends of mine, students, young artists, etc., who helped me do the work, because I'm not a textile artist myself, I'm a printmaker by training. But I got there in some form. It's an artist's interpretation or application of a textile art. But take it as an artist's application of it. So, I'm going to try today to take you through a journey, a story. Can we have the next slide, please? So, a river of unrest, a delta of dreams. Once upon a time, when birds still chirped, a great banyan stood on the east bank of a mighty river, gazing across the waters at a city of palaces beyond. As the decades passed and palaces crumbled to dust, the banyan too was reduced to disease and decay. Next slide, please. Next slide. The beleaguered pink petal of androgyny, bereft of his majesty, wielded his authority on the dying banyan. Off with her head, he said. But even as the banyan was decapitated, the heavens shook. The birds screeched in increasing alarm as the banyan's roots burst through the alluvial earth, rising rapidly to the sky, spreading their tentacles in a dark mesh that shut out the sun. The river rose in spate as the glaciers melted in the high mountains, bringing with it the sacred white lotus of the Creator himself. The royal tiger jumped his cage and floated in the wake of the white lotus to the east bank, creeping up the banyan's sprouting prop roots to pounce on the pink petal of androgyny, now enthroned on the decapitated trunk. Even as heaven and earth shook, and the hour when it is neither night nor day descended, the banyan walked, unfathomable, timeless, eternal. So this is the story behind this work. This is called Godhuli, when it is neither night nor day. During the pandemic, when things first started opening up, the DAG Museum started organizing walks. They later launched a program called City as Museum, which many of you may have been part of on occasions. Can we switch off these lights, please? So they did a walk to the they did a walk to the botanics, which my husband and I went on. I visited the botanics after many decades, I think, and it was in a complete state of devastation. And we saw the great banyan, which, despite being fenced in twice, has exceeded the fence. It has dropped prop roots outside the fence and it is advancing towards the river. And they call it the walking tree, or the eternal tree, because it cannot be contained. I was deeply moved by this experience and this visit to the botanics. And later, as I started investigating the history of Wajid Ali Shah, whose the court that he set up in exile in Kolkata was on the opposite bank to the botanics. I sort of started to weave these stories together. And the first work that came out of this was this one. It's a large 3-panel work. It's about, each panel is about 4 feet across and about 5.5 feet in height. And it's on silk, and it's batik, shibori, embroidery, and applique. So I will show you in due course a video on the making of this work, which sort of explains the whole thought process. Can we move to the next slide, please? So these are the panels. This is the first panel. I talked about some of the elements, the white lotus of the creator, which is the Brahmo Kamul, which grows. It's a Himalayan mythic flower, but there is a form that grows in tropical climates as well. It's called the Nishi Poddo, or the Night Queen, and it blooms only for one night after about 10 p.m. and by about 4 in the morning, before the sun comes up, it's gone. Very, very elusive flower. And what you see is the canopy of the banyan at the top here, and the roots at the bottom. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is the decapitated trunk of the main tree. So for those of you who have been to to see the Great Banyan in recent times, you will know that that the main trunk of the tree was diseased and therefore decapitated, and that is the pink flower of androgyny, and all the birds and beasts, the tiger, and so on. Next slide, please. And the next, we need to run the video, please.
Having discovered the Great Banyan in its current state and position, I then started looking for anecdotes around the Great Banyan. It's a tree that exists, But there's also so much of myth that has developed around it. And in its current state, partly due to the pandemic and partly due to the cyclone Amphan that hit us in the first wave, and consequently a year later another cyclone that we suffered that was not so severe, the botanics is in a state of devastation. What used to be a garden has actually become a jungle. And it is tragic because it is one of the greatest horticultural repositories, botanical repositories the world over. This was extremely heartbreaking for me. So there is a story that the last Nawab of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, spent his last years in Calcutta when he was dethroned by the British. He set up a kind of proxy court of Awadh over here and surrounded himself with his courtesans and his his cooks, because he was a great lover of food. But he also surrounded himself with his menagerie. In his menagerie, he had a lot of exotic animals, and he also had a tiger, or maybe tigers. And the story goes that one day, one of his tigers somehow escaped his cage and made his way out of the menagerie and swam across the Hooghly and came up at the botanics, and then prowled the garden and killed one or two people before the tiger was nabbed. There is something poignant about this whole tale where while the Nawab himself is a prisoner of his own destiny, his tiger manages to escape his cage and roam free, which really caught my imagination. The garden, in its current state of devastation, due to the extremely unusual circumstances that we have been living for the last 2 years, and the fact that wrath of nature has not spared us in Bengal even through this pandemic. All of this made me piece these stories and these locations together in the sense of stitching narratives. I was looking for botanical or horticultural something to symbolize Wajid Ali Shah. He's like a tragic hero. As a ruler, he was a complete disaster. And he could not fathom what the future held for him. And increasingly he withdrew into the surreal world of poetry and music and dance and food. It was hard to find a redeeming feature in this man who was supposed to be the ruler of one of the most powerful provinces in India. But he was a man of the arts, and perhaps that's where his redemption lay. He was just not meant to be a ruler, perhaps. And he was also, of course, a victim of the times in which he lived. With all this in mind, and also, in all the images that you see of Wajid Ali Shah, he deliberately tried to project himself always as a person of indeterminate sexuality or gender. There is a gender ambiguity that you see in all the images of Wajid Ali Shah, from the sort of locks of his hair, to the manner in which his eyes are drawn, to his attire, and always see him wearing an angrakha with one breast always peeping out. And there is something that is on the one hand effeminate, but also he is this very grand or regal figure in full regal attire, all the paraphernalia, everything that a king should wear. But there is this effeminate streak in his entire appearance and the manner in which he likes to be projected. To me, he seemed like an androgynous figure. So I started to look for an androgynous flower. The flower in itself is a very erotic organism. So I finally zeroed in on the hibiscus. There is something which in Bengali we call the Panchomukhi Jaba or the double hibiscus. It's very grand, and somewhere its petals reminded me of Wajid Shah's hair. In Bengali, we actually call this patakata chul. Patakata means cut leaves or a kind of leaf pattern, which is a very sort of 60s style which women often sported. The petals of the hibiscus reminded me of this patakata hairstyle and Wajid Shah's hair. And so that flower of androgyny is what I've used to signify Wajid Shah's presence. I've placed the flower on the amputated trunk of the Great Banyan in the central panel of my work. Camouflaged within the prop roots of the Great Banyan are birds like bee-eaters and so on. And again, these are all birds that I've seen in the forest in the Serengeti and in Ngorongoro. So they are reaching into this flower or are camouflaged within the Great Banyan. Eventually, the river and the tiger will be added into these works. It's the tiger that will actually take this entire landscape and its inhabitants by surprise, finally. It's the tiger that will finally spring the surprise.
So, yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. So the kingdom of Awadh was annexed by the East India Company from its ruler, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. Nawab alighted at Bichali Ghat in Calcutta, then the seat of British administration in India. On 13th May 1856, to appeal for reinstatement of his throne, the Nawab arrived here. History is testimony to the fact that he never returned to his beloved Awadh on the banks of the river Gomti, living out the last 30 years of his life in Matya Burj, on the river Hooghly, on the eastern fringes of colonial Calcutta. On the opposite bank lay the Botanics, home to the Great Banyan since before 1800. In Matya Burj, the Nawab acquired vast tracts of land, where it is believed he constructed a Chota Awadh, or a little Awadh, a glittering city of palaces, gardens, mosques, and stables for himself and the large retinue that followed him into exile in Calcutta. These manicured gardens also housed a fabulous menagerie with all manner of bird and beast, on whom it is reputed the Nawab lavished more time and wealth than on his harem. The centerpiece of this menagerie was a floating island of snakes in the midst of a water body. Today, not a trace remains of the Nawab or Chota Awadh, except a few religious or burial monuments, if you ever make the foray into Matya Burj. Almost every piece of built history was razed to the ground following his demise in 1887 for fear of reprisal. What does survive are whispers of a poet king who once built a glittering city on a tower of mud, Matya Burj, today washed away by the vagaries of time. What also survives, despite the demise of the main trunk of the tree, is the Great Banyan, on the opposite bank, a silent spectator to the resilience of time. Next slide, please. So this is me wandering about in Matya Burj in the summer of 2023 and trying to trace the built history of Matya Burj. From all these tales and my wanderings in Matya Burj, I made 6 textile works, deeply inspired by all these tales. The 6 works in Matya Burj, the Tower of Mud, recreate the ephemeral shadows of Nawab Wajid Ali Shah's built history, suspended in time, surrounded by birds and beasts from his menagerie, enclosed by the omnipresent Great Banyan, metaphors for the era of post-truth that we are currently living in. The use of medium and material is significant. Distressed batik on fine silk as a metaphor of the toll that time took on the Nawab's destiny. For all the textile buffs here, as I said, this is an artist's adaptation of the medium. It is not a perfect application of the medium. It's how I have bent the medium for my conceptual aims. So distressed batik on fine silk and embroideries simulating the ephemeral effects of the famed Awadhi chikankari on translucent Dhaka muslin, one of the most coveted textiles of the Nawab's era. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of the locations that are referred to in these works. This is Bichali Ghat and in Matya Burj. And it is actually true, as per the records of the East India Company, that the Nawab alighted at Bichali Ghat. Of all the ghats in Calcutta, this is the ghat that he alighted at in utter ignominy. A ghat where normally cattle is offloaded. And you can see till date, this is what it's used for. You can see the Bichali floating on the river. Next slide, please. This is Matya Burj, the Tower of Mud 1. It's a series of 6, as I said. So in all of them, you will see that surrounding the central panel, this is the central panel. Surrounding it is the roots of the Great Banyan, and there are birds sort of camouflaged in the banyan. There is a central piece of embroidery of the built history of the Nawab that we are referring to, and a pair of animals from his menagerie, in this case the tiger. Next slide, please. This is a detail of Bichali Ghat. A young friend of mine was very kind to give me 6 samples of Dhaka muslin that they had developed together with Vishwa Bangla, so these are like handkerchief size. And so this is Bichali Ghat. This is actual Bichali that is appliqued onto it. And I'm trying to, with white on white embroidery, I'm trying to simulate the Awadhi white on white chikankari embroidery. Next slide, please. This is BNR House, property of the Southeastern Railway. And this is where Wajid Ali lived for a brief period of 2 or 3 months when he first came to Kolkata. He rented this property and he lived here on the river. Next slide, please. So this is the BNR, my recreation of BNR House. You can see the birds. And the reason why this floats, the reason why this, this rumal floats in the middle of what is a water body is because I'm simulating the island of snakes that was part of his menagerie and guarded in typical colonial fashion by 2 lions here. Next slide, please. This is my recreation of BNR House on the Dhaka muslin, standing by the river. It's wonderful balustraded, verandas, balcony here, which I've embroidered in horsehair. in horsehair. Yeah, next slide please. This is Amherst House in Fort William, where Wajid Ali, after being, pulled out of the dungeon that he had originally been thrown into, this is where he, it is more or less certain that this is where he was.
Sorry. She's very uncomfortable.
No, that's fine, that's fine. It's okay.
Sorry for this. Yes.
No, that's fine. So this is Amherst House, and this is where he spent almost more than 2 years, I think, in exile. One, is it only one? In Amherst House. And I imagined, I was lucky enough to be able to access and see this building. If you open these windows, it's you get the breeze from the river in the evenings, and I imagined the king in this house. And he wrote some of his most famous works whilst in this building. So this is the representation of Amherst House, this time with cheetahs, and you can see the birds everywhere. Next slide, please. That's Amherst House, and the window open. Oops. This is Shahi Masjid in Matia Burj, which is it's the back of the masjid. It is the king's personal masjid where he prayed, he and his family prayed. It's a very peaceful spot even now. This is the representation of the Shahi Masjid, guarded by 2 crocodiles. And this is the representation of the masjid with the little pool of water, which you just saw in the photograph. This is Siptenabad Imambara in Matia Burj, which is what people mainly visit. The Siptenabad Imambara is where Wajid Ali and his son and maybe some other members of his family are buried. As you can see, it says Mausoleum, Wajid Ali Shah and Birjis Qadir, who was his son. And if you walk up and down the street, you can still get a sense of Chota Awadh. At one time, all our tailors used to come from Matia Burj and so on. And you see all the ittar and surma shops. But it's changed a lot. So this is, I'm just going to go back one moment. So on the top here, you can see the fish, which is the emblem of the Awadhi royal family. This is the representation of the Siptenabad Imambara. And you can see the fish here as well, and the receding arches of the entrance. That's the embroidery in the center. And these are appliques in brocade. And the last in this work, in this series, is Begum Umda Mahal Imambara, which is adjacent to the Septenabad Imambara and was built by one of his Begums. It's very, very beautiful piece of architecture with this exquisite glass inlay work, all going to rack and ruin, unfortunately, but some remnants still exist. I was deeply moved by this particular piece of architecture. And this is the representation that I made, guarded by hyenas this time. And this is the Umda Mahal Imambara, my interpretation of it. And it's embroidery, it's lace appliques, and so on. These are all kerchief size, these embroideries. The works are about 4 feet by 4 feet. Okay, so not far downriver from Matia Burj, the river Hooghly meets the delta, a landscape crisscrossed by many rivers traversing India and Bangladesh. A large section of this delta land is known as the Sundarbans, a cluster of low-lying islands in the Bay of Bengal, famous for its unique mangrove forests. This active delta region is amongst the largest in the world, measuring about 40,000 square kilometers across India and Bangladesh. Though the rhinoceros became extinct from the Sundarban in the mid-20th century, it continues to be home to the endangered Royal Bengal tiger, the Ganges and Irrawaddy dolphins, estuarine crocodiles, as also innumerable other fauna. It is the only mangrove habitat in the world for the tiger, the mighty predator around which this fragile ecosystem is indelibly hinged. The Sundarban, meaning beautiful forest, takes its name from the Sundari tree, a species of mangrove that is now extinct. Several other species of mangrove continue to survive though, with their varied roots revealing and concealing themselves through the course of the day with the ebb and flow of the tide. Next slide, please. The breathing roots, or new metaphors, dot the clayey banks, held together by snake roots, prop roots, stilt roots, and many others. Also lining these waterways is nipa, a densely forested mangrove palm that constitutes the favorite habitat of the estuarine tiger, rendering its stripes near invisible. Next slide. The Sundarban tiger is a smaller, leaner beast as compared to his central Indian cousin, and an ace swimmer. Though legend has it that he reigns supreme here, in reality, he struggles to survive. Unlike the herds of cheetal and wild boar that constitute easy prey for the tiger on the plains of central India, the Sundarban tiger has a low prey base, resorting to fish or even crabs on a lean day. Reputed to be a man-eater, the honey collectors and woodcutters who wander into the tiger's terrain constitute easy prey and softer flesh for the hungry predator. Nor is the human being native. He happens to be there by some gross error of history. Clearly, this is a landscape of contradictions. Next slide, please. The rhinoceros has vanished. The tiger struggles to survive. The crocodile, native as he is, rules. And the prey base, planted as they are by mankind, have ne'er a chance of survival. Much like the Nawab's famed menagerie of collectibles that roamed his manicured lawns, alienated from their native habitat, yet prized for their exoticism. Next slide, please. No, let's just stay with this, sorry. A palace of porcelain on a tower of mud by the river of unrest is a book of linocuts that constitutes the bridge between the poet king's tale of doom and the endangered landscape of the Sundarban, where I happened to wander downstream in November 2023, spending 3 eventful days bobbing on a boat with the ebb and flow of the tide as dawn turned to dusk. This book dwells upon the destruction of the Nawab's palace and its eventual consumption by the river. A polluted, murky, brown river that merges with the clay palette and texture of the Sundarban landscapes, the Sundarban being the point where the river finally meets the sea. The zebras, Shada and Kalo, are the 2 protagonists in this narrative, fictitiously drawn from the Nawab's menagerie. Shaken from their calm reverie by the brewing storm on the river, the zebras fight, further whipping the landscape into a state of agitation, resulting in a climactic moment of destruction. The 6 linocuts are printed in black on a walnut shell stained rice paper that is the color of the muddy river. From these linocuts, I developed an animation film. While the zebras are the main protagonists in the book, in the animation, the river and the elements of the weather take precedence, holding the landscape to ransom. A cyclical phenomenon in the Sundarban with the devastating cyclones that routinely flood it due to the depleted buffer zone between land and sea that the rich mangrove forests used to at one time provide. We watch the video. So this is like a 5.5-minute animation film, which I'd like you to watch, please. It was recently shown at KCC, so some of you may have seen it. To the sound. Let's pause because the sound is important. Now just do an escape and maybe start it again. should go back because it's. Okay, you can play that little video. So the last work in this body of work is a series of 8 silk panels, stretched on a collapsible 4-fold teak wood frame, basically an antique room divider. The textile processes employed are batik, shibori, applique, and embroidery. The textiles used for the appliques are mostly found, with histories of their own embedded within them. So a lot of times I work with found textiles as opposed to new textiles because I enjoy the histories that are already within those, because textiles are objects of use. People have used them for generations sometimes. This practice of using found textiles has been with me a while now, as I enjoy the layering of personal associations with larger histories. Nawab Wajid Ali Shah left Awadh and arrived in Calcutta in complete ignominy, as per the records of the East India Company. However, the Nawab's fanciful flights of imagination, as seen in his poems, belie these records. The Nawab imagines that he left Awadh in procession, led by his animals, while behind him followed a retinue of soldiers, musicians, and dancers. And the women of Awadh wept from the balconies to see their beloved king pass. In Calcutta, upon arrival, he alighted at Bichali Ghat, the word Bichali itself meaning fodder for cattle. Of the many landing stations on the river that the city boasts of, Bichali Ghat is the most unlikely for the last king of India to disembark at. Yet, this is the reality. Coming full circle, I locate the tragic fate of the Nawab on the river of unrest, trapped between the dark canopy of the great banyan's prop roots on the one bank and the tentacles of the mangrove roots on the other. A pair of each animal from his prized menagerie swim the murky olive waters of the river as it nears the delta, while he himself struggles to keep his boat afloat in the ebbing tide. This tragic scene, poignant as it is metaphoric of not just the ebbing of an era, but also the ebb of a fragile, threatened ecosystem teetering on the brink of extinction. If we can have the music, please. Next slide. So, this work is actually here on display and you can enjoy it in the flesh, but I will just try to explain it. So this is, I'm a little nervous of talking about this with Anindo sitting here next to me, but this is Wajid Ali's famous Tumri Babul Mora, and he is actually talking about his beloved Awadh, and you know he's drawing the sort of parallel with a bride leaving her father's home. So very poignant. So this is Wajid Ali's boat sailing on the river. And I'm now moving landscapes from the Gomti to the Hooghly to the Mara, and so this, you'll see it there, is a piece from a Tangain sari that my mother got me in my trousseau that came apart. And I never throw any of my textiles that come apart. I keep them for another day. So it has these beautiful portraits woven into it of what I imagine are kings and queens. So I pulled those portraits out, what I could salvage, and I applique them. So Wajid Ali moving with his begums in the Bajra down the river. And here are the animals, the hippopotamus from the Serengeti, the lions, the giraffe, and the zebras. And up here is the canopy of the Great Banyan that remains a constant in all these works as the witness to the passage of time. And below here are the different roots of the mangroves. And sandwiched in between are the rivers that traverse these landscapes. And this is the other side. It can be viewed from both sides with a continuing narrative. And here is the boat, now with the estuarine crocodile of the Sundarbans swimming along with the boat. The Sundarban tiger sitting on the bank, on the clay bank of the delta, watching his prey, the cheetal. Here, the tiger now prowls the clay banks with the mangroves. Here are the famous pneumatophores. And here is another crocodile lying in camouflage, and the rhinoceros that has become extinct. Can we have the music, please? With the song. So the work is here, and I'm here, so I'm happy to talk about it. So this is on the left. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. So, yeah, so this is a glimpse of my studio, my students who work with me quite often. This is the Pandita and Anuradha. Neither of them are here this evening, but Priyanka is here, who has also worked with me on this project. Can you? And this is Rana, who used to be the bane of our lives, a big boisterous Labrador who unfortunately we lost very young. But all the dogs are very much part of the studio and the making of the work. This is me and a recent residency in Jodhpur, where I had a wonderful opportunity again to work with traditional textile artists. Yeah, so that's it. The story of the last king of India. So, are we doing questions or?
Any observation, comments, questions, welcome to ask. The screen has been put up at the back, which you can enjoy with Paula. Anyone who knows about it, all the 8 artworks have been put up. In the meantime, are there any questions? Any questions, comments, observations? Did you all enjoy this? No. Yes, yes.
Hi ma'am, just a question about the first artwork, the first 3 panel, the golden, that's not on display here. When do we get to see that?
That is in the collection of the Kiranadar Museum. So maybe
In Delhi?
in Delhi, so maybe someday when they display it,
Hopefully.
you may see it in
Hopefully.
their new space, maybe, which has more room.
Yeah, it's a massive work. From
It's
what
a large
I
work,
gathered.
yes, it's a large work.
Yeah, so hopefully cases.
I don't know, they have to,
Collaborate, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course.
that's hard to say, Rubidi, because I made this work in phases. It's between about 23 and 25, no, 24, that these works are made. So, I don't know, over a year and a half, you know, they have happened slowly, organically. So, it has not happened in one stretch. It's happened bit by bit. Yeah.
Big round of applause.
Thank you. I'm not wearing a sari. I'm wearing it's a sarong and a scarf. It's from Yogyakarta. Yeah, I mean,
About 100 pieces over the years of Rabindranath Tagore's first journey in 1927 to 2027. So what you will see at KCC in January and you see at Artshila is something that is going to be just amazing, inspiring, and a lot of hard work going into it. So we are building up this beautiful community of all of you, and we hope that this builds into a huge community. The last exhibition we did, Textiles from Bengal, a shared legacy, our footfall was approximately 26,000. We hope that we cross 1 lakh this time.
yes.
So, and bringing back attention to Bengal, to Kolkata, to Shantiniketan, to all of this, a pride for me, a privilege for me, an honor for me. And I just want to thank everybody for this fantastic opportunity to do the work that we are doing, to document, to put together oral histories. Our research associate and a brilliant researcher, Shubham China, right here. The rest of my team right there, Kavita and the team, without whom this is not going to be possible. And so every single day is a challenge and a struggle, but it's happening. And we are all the Bonedi families, all these wonderful people in Shantiniketan, in Kolkata, in UK, in Canada. So when we were sent out a call for papers for batik for information as well as the textiles. People have come out with their grandmother's saris and pieces that were made in the 1930s, and Nandlal Bose's works, as well as how the drawings and the designs changed to the Alpana designs, to Gauri Bhonjo and Jomuna Sen, to Karu Shongo. So it's going to be a fantastic documentation and presentation at the KCC, which brings about 50% of the exhibition is Indonesia, Indonesian textiles, coat textiles. We've been very fortunate to be granted 3 brilliant collections from all over the world, from Europe, from Singapore, and from Indonesia and Australia. And our advisors and curators are from all over. And the best of batik, it doesn't matter where it is in the world, is going to be showcased. The main batiks, of course, going to be from Indonesia and Shantiniketan, but there'll be glimpses of influences of other batiks, workshops and visitor engagement programs, music, theatre, dance, recitations, letters between great letters from Java that Rabindranath Tagore wrote. As lots and lots happening. I just start to give it all away, but it's going to be magical. And so please look forward to it, and please spread the word from now, and nobody go out of town. Okay? You're not going anywhere. No Jodhpur festival and no Jaipur Lit festival, none of that, okay? Just warning all of you, I have your names right here. So thank you, Paula. It's been really wonderful. It just happened one day that I said, I love her work. I've seen it at Birla Academy, I've seen it in Delhi, I saw it at KCC recently, and I said so much resemblance and identification with textile. So though we do a textile talk, it didn't have to be specific, but it was her imagination, her work, the way she puts myth and reality together. So thank you so much for this fabulous presentation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God. The production is like Santa Claus. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.